Are we doing an icebreaker?
No, this is an emergency.
Emergency.
Emergency podcast.
Emergency podcast.
Yeah, on the EQAO results.
EQAO results, yes.
Yeah.
They're a little bit terrifying.
Room for improvement.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, especially in math.
Especially in math.
Yes, the government felt that they were concerning enough to issue a letter to parents within the Ontario school system to say we're looking into this.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what sort of between that and the results, we thought we got to talk about this.
We got to talk about this. We got some numbers to delve into. We're going to talk about what EQAO is.
Yep.
Why is it so hard to say? What does the acronym stand for?
Education, quality,
and accountability
office.
Ontario.
There we go. Probably should have looked that up.
Well,
been confident about it, but at least you did.
Mm-hmm. So, what is the purpose of EQAO? What are we trying to measure? Let's talk about a little bit about the history of how it came to be.
Yes. Mm-hmm. So, this is actually kind of wild because we both lived through education at the time that this all happened. Mm-hmm. So we can speak about it from an educator point of view, but also as sort of this student point of view. We were there for it, kind of on the later end of it. We didn't have to do EQAO.
Yeah, I would say that we, at least for me, but I'm sure this is the case for you because I'm super old. I was part of one of the last cohorts before they rolled out the system.
Yeah, and I was the very last one. So we saw it and saw some.
We saw the sausage being made.
Yes, we saw some of the effects of that. The the negative kind of things that have happened, and some of the good things that have happened as well.
There was some strife, some transitional growing pains that occurred in the 90s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so essentially what happened was back in '96, it was the tail end of the NDP Bob Rae government, mm-hmm. and he ordered, it was the Royal Commission on Learning, mm-hmm. and he ordered this big report to look at the education system to see where there was room for improvement. It was made up of educators, parents, people in the community, so a very well put together, sort of generally thought of as well put together group. And they ended up coming up with 150 plus recommendations on how to improve the education system. Mm-hmm. The big ones were that there was no standardized curriculum across the province. There was no accountability within schools. Mm-hmm. We needed more teacher development, mm-hmm. Like professional development and support, and we needed a way to
track everything.
Yeah. And class sizes were kind of the big takeaways. So I say the tail end of the NDP government because that's when it was ordered, and then the Mike Harris government came in, and they were responsible for kind of taking the results of this report and implementing the recommendations. Mm-hmm. And that's where some of the strife came in. Some people were not happy about these changes. There was a teacher strike. I remember that vividly. I was excited I didn't have to go to school. There was work to rule. There was no mm-hmm. sports, things like that. Mm-hmm. So it was quite controversial, but...
And a pretty big swing in philosophy from the commission that was put together. Like there were a lot of people at the table, but it was an NDP-led initiative swinging over to a conservative initiative.
Yeah.
And this is not a political podcast.
Nope.
But I don't think it's any big secret that the outlook and the role of government varies drastically between those two political parties.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's where a lot of the conflict and upset is that people thought one thing was going to come out of it, and maybe other things came. Mm-hmm. But I mean, we did get smaller class sizes. Mm-hmm. We did have provincial, standardized curriculum mm-hmm. across. I think that was great. Mm-hmm. And EQAO was implemented.
Yeah, and a way to measure the success of this curriculum being implemented across the entirety of the province. The province is a pretty big place.
It is.
Right, and there's a lot of different constituencies, and the needs of a place like, I don't know, like Thunder Bay or Timmins, Ontario is radically different than the needs of I don't know, like Hamilton or Ottawa or Windsor or Collingwood.
Yeah, all very, very different.
Yeah.
And so I think standardized curriculum, all for it. keep it the same, make sure everyone's learning the same thing regardless of where they are, and implement a way to track it. Great idea at heart. I think, as always, intentions are good.
Yeah.
I think implementation probably has been a bit of a struggle. And one thing, I mean, we all think that the 90s were a few years ago, but this is
a quarter of a century.
25 years ago now.
A quarter of a century ago. Sorry, friends.
Yes. So sorry to make everyone feel old. Makes me feel old for sure. So I think that, we need to take into account that these are ideas that were brought forward 25 years ago. And so
well, the commission was from 1996.
Yes.
So we're talking about the early stages of internet getting rolled out into people's houses and people's classrooms.
Yes, and technology in the classroom was a recommendation.
Yeah, and technology in the classroom at the time was, we will have a computer workstation.
Yep.
Right? So the type of technology that they're recommending is radically different than the type of technology that is now implemented in the classroom.
Yes, absolutely. And I think that's a really good example of how the evolution of things needs to happen. And society is different, and just, the world in general is so different. So, while there are nuggets and good things, maybe it's time for another brand new Royal Commission on Learning. Perhaps. So that is how EQAO came to be. So this commission report came out in 96. 1997, they started to roll out EQAO for students in grade 6. They didn't do a blanket, everyone starts doing this. So grades 3, grade 6, grade 9, they do EQAO, and grades 3 and 6, reading, writing, math. Grades 9, they do math. Grade 10, they do the literacy test. So that's how they're addressing the language part of that. So grade 6, they started it there and then started to roll it out. And I think the OSSLT was the last piece to roll out. Yeah. So that was how it came to be. That's EQAO in a tiny nutshell.
Yeah. So we have these tests, these standardized tests that are written at certain intervals throughout the school career of students in Ontario. Do these tests, which are required for the schools to write, not required for the students to write, impact the students' grade in any direct way?
No, absolutely not. And I think that is something that is definitely a misconception among parents, because schools, teachers, and this is, we love teachers. We're going to preface that, but we love you teachers. They're teaching to the test in grades 3 and grade 6. They're still teaching the curriculum, the expectations, but they are definitely teaching it in a way that is preparing students to write these tests. It's make sure that your answer fits in this box, and make sure that the question is in the answer, and let's look at these news articles.
So at least from the teacher's perspective, or certainly the school, and most certainly the school board, these scores and these tests and these results
matter.
But they don't impact the academic standing of a child. No.
And I think that kids think it does, because they're talked to about this test and it's a big deal, and it's an EQAO day, and so kids and parents think that it's a very big deal. And what I tell kids all the time is EQAO is not testing you, it is testing your teachers, it is testing your school. Go in and do your thing and don't worry about the rest. But breaking that mindset is really difficult, and a lot of kids do, and parents get very worked up about it.
Yeah. Believe me, we see a lot of parents that are stressed out and are sometimes even hesitant to believe the fact that this standardized test is not something that matters as far as their students' grade for the year. You know this about me, I'm a data person, right? And I love the idea of being able to measure, what's working and what's not working. Right, and that's the purpose of this, is you have this, I imagine, incredible spreadsheet that you can break down. You can log on the EQAO website and see all this data that allows you to know how the school boards are doing across the province, how the province is doing as a whole, individual schools. And I would imagine that with this information, the government is armed to make important financial decisions and resource allocation decisions to make sure that the quality of service is consistent across the province. Is that what's happening, Jen?
I mean, in a perfect world, yes. Is that what's happening? No.
No.
I mean, and I think that that was the general idea, was that we're going to look at these results, we're going to see where more supports are needed, and we're going to, put the funding there and make changes. And that's varied widely over the years. And again, we said this is not a political podcast. However, depending on the political party in office at any given time, funding goes up, funding goes down.
And this is, again, this is not one political party either. Like, all three major political parties in Ontario has had their hand in the creation of this, but also implementing it in some capacity over the last
absolutely
30 years.
And not a single one of them has done it perfectly.
That's right.
And so, ideally the funding would be dispersed where it's needed, but funding has just been cut repeatedly, and that's a big issue. There's been strikes over the years, and that various school boards and all of this. And so I think that, there's not an unlimited well of money to give, but I also am a firm believer in let's fund the future, because they're going to be taken care of.
Or let's be smart about where our resource, where the dollars are going, right? Like, should we get into some numbers?
Let's do it. You're the number guy, so.
Because the results were shocking enough for the province to say we need to do something different.
Yeah.
Right? And there is some positive numbers too. So we got a list here.
Yeah.
Right? There are some positive things. So
should we talk about where we got our numbers from? Like, where our numbers?
This is straight from the website.
Right, but why we picked the years we picked, I guess.
Yes. So let's start off with this. Let's talk about across the province. And let's talk about the latest 2025 results.
Sounds good.
So starting in grade 3, the province-wide MET standard was 71% for reading.
Yep.
Writing was 64%, math was 61%.
Yep. So that's the percentage of students who achieved the provincial standard.
That's correct.
Yep.
Yes. In grade 6, in 2025, reading was 82%.
Fantastic.
Fantastic. Writing was 80%.
Still pretty fantastic.
Math for grade 6 in the year of our Lord 2025 was 50% met the standard.
Not fantastic.
No bueno. And then in grade 9 was 54%.
Yep.
Yep. Now the thing is, across the board, there's been a lot of, hey, these numbers are not great, but they've been an improvement over the previous years.
Yep.
Right? Reading and writing, big gains over 2023, 2024, 2022. And 80% does sound like a nice number. But what we did was we went back and did some digging, and we looked at pre-COVID numbers, right? Because we were talking beforehand, and my theory of the case was these numbers, these positive numbers, aren't necessarily gains that have been made, but rather we're just getting caught up to the status quo before COVID impacted reading and writing scores across the province.
Right.
So we looked at numbers from 2019.
Yes.
2019. And they're pretty much the same.
Yeah, we're pretty on par for.
So reading in grade 3 was actually 74%. So we decreased in those 6 years by 3%. Writing was 72%, so that is a decrease of 8% from 2019.
Yeah, and these are grade 3 numbers.
These are grade 3 numbers. Yeah. Math was about the same at 60%, so like 1% difference.
Yeah.
And this is province-wide.
Yep.
In grade 6, the numbers were about the same, 82% for reading and writing, so that's basically where we are. Math
Yep.
was also 50% in grade 6 for 2019, so
Yep.
no change there.
Right.
Math has decreased slightly for students in grade 9. So in 2019 it was 54%, now it's 52%.
Yep.
And for the OSSLT, in 2019, 80% of students met the provincial standard. In 2025, it was 77.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we are approaching or very close to our pre-COVID numbers. And in general, it's sort of been put out there that it's taking about 5 years to recover from all sorts of different standpoints. So yes, we've seen an improvement over the last few years, but we didn't talk about, the nosedive that they took during those COVID years.
Yeah.
When kids were still expected to know this stuff.
This is a 2 steps forward, or 2 steps backwards, 2 steps forward situation.
Exactly. So yay, we're back to where we were. Reading, in general, the reading, the writing, there's always room for improvement, but I'm not too concerned about those numbers. Grade 3, I'm a little bit concerned. The grade 6 ones, though, it looks like we've got a good recovery happening. We're doing well. But math is terrifying.
Math is terrifying.
Yeah.
Right.
Half of our students are not meeting the provincial standard in math. That's scary.
Yes. So, action items.
Yes.
Where do we go from here? How do we get students to perform better and have a deeper understanding of math and number sense? Because they have this new math. They have a new curriculum that they've rolled out. Was it 3 years ago now?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a few years. I was very excited when I heard they were rolling this out. There's financial literacy in there, which people have been asking for years.
Data
there's
management.
more data management in there, younger grades, not just waiting until high school for that. And I think there have been positive changes. I think they're attempting to make math more accessible for students who don't learn just by rote memory. We need that abstract thinking, we need that problem solving, we need to understand how numbers are coming together and coming apart. And so it attempts to deal with a lot of that. Awesome. I think the implementation, again, has not been great. And the example I like to talk about is the box method for multiplication and for division. And,
Could I hop in here before you say?
Yes.
So the idea thinking is numbers, there's a plasticity to numbers.
Yes.
There's more than one way to work through some sort of operation to arrive at the answer. There's more than one way you can conceptualize it.
Yes.
Right? So when we were kids, we were taught specifically one way to do multiplication, one way to do division.
Stack them, cross multiply, carry your ones, whatever.
But we're talking about how things move, right?
Yes.
And there's different ways that you can conceptualize and work through and arrive at these answers. So the thinking is, instead of forcing everyone to do one method, why don't we present multiple different ways to conceptualize operations? And allow the student to choose the system that works with the way they conceptualize how these numbers are interacting.
Exactly. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Lovely.
The
Is that what's
struggle, exactly. The struggle is that that's not what's happening because they're saying, here are these 3 different methods, and a student needs to learn all 3. It's not just introduce the methods, let the kid pick the one that works the best for them, and that's how they do it. It's they have to understand this method, they have to understand this method, they have to understand this method, and only once they understand all the methods can they pick one. But I'm a firm believer in if it works, if it's not broken, don't fix it.
Well, not only that, practice doesn't make perfect, practice makes permanent, right?
Yeah.
So if you're switching up the way you're approaching the problem, you're not actually honing that skill to the point where it becomes intrinsic.
Yeah, exactly. Right? And that's why, I took math all through high school. Do you think I remember any of it? hard no. And so I think that the attempt is there. I think the meaning behind it is there, and I think that's great. I think that there needs to be tweaks. I also think that there are a lot of people teaching math that are not confident and comfortable in it themselves. And a lot of the younger, newer generation of teachers, you know, I think to this double cohort that we talked about. You know, I was the last year of the old system. The year, you know, below me was the first year of the new system. And when I was in grade 11 taking math, I needed to take grade 11 advanced, and it was grade 10 math. Like, they were given all of this new, more difficult math. Great, but all of these kids who were sort of in this system all of a sudden had to jump to this new math mid-school career. And so a lot of them struggled. And a lot of them are now our teachers teaching math. And so we still don't quite understand, you know, we've got our method, we're good. So one solution that I think is having people, like, let's have math specialists teaching math, not just at the high school level, but why don't we have a Rotary math teacher? We have Rotary music teachers, we have Rotary French teachers, Rotary phys ed teachers. Why don't we have somebody who loves math and who is great at communicating it and really understands it?
You know what I say about math. Like, you know,
is that as horrible and terrifying?
No. Math has a PR problem.
It does.
We're not good at selling math, right? Because a lot of people get terrified of it. And it's not necessarily that they're bad at math. They've had a bad experience of math.
Yeah.
And then they're like gun shy about it.
Exactly.
Right? And if we could have people that could sell the value of it and knowing it, because it's absolutely imperative that we have strong math and number sense and abstract thinking skills if we want to be competitive in the world economy in the 21st century.
Absolutely.
Right? So yeah, making sure that we have specialists that are experts at conveying this information, teaching this information.
Yep.
I absolutely agree.
Yeah, and I think this is a case where people who are actually in the education system helping make these decisions would be valid, because the government, you know, we know often will have ministers of education who don't have experience in education, and they're making things from a business perspective or point of view.
Or politics.
Or a political point of view, right?
Yeah.
And you know,
or an ideological point of view,
yes,
right?
Exactly. Like they're not in the school seeing what's actually happening, and that's a whole other topic for a whole other day. But I think that, you know, we get these decisions being made. So in Teachers College, not all of them, but some of them, you know, before you can get your Bachelor of Education, you have to complete a math test that shows that you are competent in, you know, up to grade 6 or grade 8, depending on your teachables, math, so that you can teach it to kids. And I think that's fantastic. But you can cheat on that test. We've had teachers say, I've cheated on this test because it was online and this and that,
and
which is a little bit horrifying.
Grade 6 math, we're talking about arithmetic.
Yep. And there's concept, like, you know, you say to somebody who hasn't done math in a long time, talk to me about, you know, prime factorization. And they're going to lose their mind. It's like, it's just a factor tree, and, you know, or ratios and rates. It's multiplication, and you know, it's that bad PR problem again. So you've got these people who are still not truly understanding it and learning it, and so now we've passed this test, but now we're expected to teach it and communicate it. And so again, you know, let's make sure everybody can pass this test. But people who are actually in the system might say, well, actually, let's find the people who do really well at this test, or who do specialize in math, to teach the kids.
So again, much like before, we have this gatekeeping because we take this test, we collect this data, but we're not using the information to inform how to allocate resources, or in this case, how to allocate teachers.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
And then one of the other big changes that you and I have a lot of thoughts about, de-streamed math.
Yes, grade 9 de-streamed math. Big problem with that. The ideological perspective, the reason this was put in is we don't want to close kids off from opportunities. So we don't want you to get lumped into, you know, and when we say de-streamed, we should probably clarify. So math historically has been, in our day, advanced in general. currently academic and applied, locally developed. And so we've got these 3 streams of math that kids, when they're going into high school, they can pick and choose what they want to go into. And the idea is that as we're pursuing a university path, then we take our academic into university courses
Yeah,
so
and
that
you
we
get
can
your
apply to
4U
university.
courses and
That's it. And then we do college, applied college, so, or then locally developed workplace. Then you can go to whichever career choice you're going to choose. And so I think the perspective is that, well, we are lumping kids into a category too early, and we should give them an opportunity to, do whatever they want to do. However, a student in grade 8 who is getting a D or even a C in math typically would go into our applied stream. And a student getting an A or B typically would go into the academic stream, depending on what they want to do. A lot of kids, we should not expect kids in grade 9 to know what they want to do. Lots of time still. And so the whole point of de-streaming is that, well, now they all have the same opportunity and then they can branch off. But a kid who has a D and a kid who has an A have very different experiences with math, have very different levels of understanding. Now we have teachers who are trying to teach instead of we have academic teachers who are used to teaching kids who are understanding the concepts, they already know the background, they get the quick pace, and then we've got students who are missing key components and key understanding, and they need a slower pace, and these teachers are trying to accommodate everybody. So our kids who are failing are still failing and still feeling pretty horrible about themselves. Our kids who are doing really well are still feeling great about themselves, but maybe they're frustrated because
they're being held.
They feel like they're being held back. Things are going slow. They're bored, and so that's just one tiny component of it. I mean, there's always been a way to go from the locally developed and applied stream up to the university level. There's always been pathways to do it. You might need to take an extra course. You might need to lose an elective, but guess what? When you're in de-streamed grade 9 math and failing, you're going to lose an elective or have to do summer school anyway.
And summer school is not the ideal solution for students that are failing courses.
It goes so quick. You're teaching.
It's an accelerated course.
Yeah.
So if
a unit a week.
Yeah. Maybe if you were just barely, maybe if you understood but you didn't apply yourself.
Yeah.
You get another shot where you can hand things in that you weren't handing things in.
Improve your grade.
But conceptually, if you're struggling with understanding concepts, doing it again on fast forward is not a recipe for success.
No, it's not. And it's giving students an opportunity to get support, to have people help them with assignments, to use AI. You're still not learning, and then the cycle repeats, and we're still not actually learning and truly understanding anything. So I think from an ideological perspective, I think, yeah, that's great. Let's not hold anybody back. Let's give everyone the same opportunity. But it's having the opposite effect, because if you're putting kids in who are already struggling, now we're lowering their confidence. We're making them not like math even more. We're adding to that PR problem. We're taking an elective away from them if they have to take this class again. So now we're not liking school even more. Now we're feeling singled out. Now we're feeling dumb compared to our peers. There's just so much wrong with it, and it makes me physically angry. I'm raging inside right now.
It's a recipe to make apathetic kids.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And it's one of the very best things I did in math was I struggled. I did well in grade 8 math, struggled in grade 9 math, struggled in grade 10 math. I dropped down a level in grade 11, and I had an amazing teacher who slowed down, explained the concepts in a couple different ways, and it changed my perspective on math. And we're taking those opportunities away from these kids to have that aha light bulb moment from somebody who understands that slower pace of math. So yeah, it gives me big feelings, this de-streamed math. We need to re-stream it.
I think we should do an episode in the future. I'm going to plant the stake on this hill, because I don't know if we have time to get into it now, but I'm listening to this conversation. I think it's worth talking about is why math is important.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Because it's not just a skill set that you need to learn. And the pushback you hear from students is like, when would I ever need quadratics or advanced functions or whatever?
Yep.
That's not the reason why we teach math,
Yep.
right? There's a whole, it's essentially a language, right?
Yep.
So that way you can navigate and work through problems,
Yep.
right? But right now, 50% of Ontarians are not meeting, students in Ontario are not meeting provincial standards. This is a giant red flag. This is
Huge.
a need to change. And it's not something that's new. It's not as of 2025. It's been, we went back through, and like this has been like the story for a while, right?
Yeah.
Even before COVID. So we talked a little bit about changes. Is there anything that the government's going to do to change?
My prediction,
Yeah.
this is what I was going to say, let's do this next year and see if my prediction is correct.
Ooh.
They are going to get TOSAs, teacher on special assignment.
Yeah.
So they're going to take teachers from the classroom who are going to apply, and they're going to, for a year or two, do a special assignment where they're going to teach math.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to teach teachers how to teach math. And they're going to go into schools and they're going to do professional development, PD sessions, and they are going to teach the teachers how to teach this math. And they're going to put all sorts of funding into that. And that's not the solution. That should happen, but that is my prediction for what will happen.
Okay.
What I think should happen is we work on getting math specialists into schools. Maybe we get Rotary math teachers. Maybe we, put funding into having educational assistants, getting more of those EAs, those fantastic EAs into classrooms to work with students who need that extra support. Our learning support teachers who, we used to have a group of students who come and work on this concept. They're now helping fill the roles of the EAs and dealing with, behavioral issues and kids having a hard time and parent phone calls and this and that. And they don't have time to take on these small groups. So let's fund. We had literacy support teachers for a while, and it was this reading intervention. So let's get some of these math teachers in. So there's ways to do it. This is also a whole other conversation for another day, is should we push kids forward when they're failing? Maybe we don't just push kids through when they don't understand a concept, because it just grows, the gap just gets bigger. So a lot of things that could and should be done, but I think we're gonna get TOSAs and we're gonna get extra PD sessions on math.
I don't disagree with any of those predictions. I can see that that's the easy Band-Aid.
Yep.
What I would love to see is a brand new Royal Commission. Right? It has been over a quarter of a century.
Yeah.
The economy is vastly different than it was in the 1900s.
Yeah. Right? The late 1900s.
The late 1900s, to be fair. The skill sets that students need to be functional members of society and prepared to enter the economy heading into what will be the middle of the 21st century is radically different. We have a system that is pretty good at measuring this stuff, I think, but hopefully the commission will say, okay, we can measure it, but we also need an action plan to allocate resources, allocate time, allocate funding based on these results.
Yeah. And have it, again, be a group of educators and people from the communities and different parts of Ontario. And
have the right people at the table during this Royal Commission.
Exactly,
right?
to evaluate and make these recommendations. Absolutely. And I think good things have come from it. I mean, class sizes was a big one. There used to be in a grade 2 classroom, there used to be 28, 29 kids. So the caps, I think, have slid a little bit. We're getting a little bit bigger, but in general,
we're also a more populous province than we were 30 years ago.
And without the funding improving or increasing, then we're not getting more teachers. So they're creeping up a bit. I think junior, intermediate classrooms especially, we need to bring down. But we do still have smaller class sizes. We do have tech in classrooms. So I think good things have come from it, and I think only good things could come from another one. So I agree. I would love to see another one. Do we think that's going to happen?
I don't know.
Maybe this will be enough. But I think TOSAs and TOSAs are what's going to happen in PD. So, Yeah, all right. I think that kind of sums it up. Ooh, there is one other thing that I want to share with
Yes.
with parents. You can opt out of EQAO.
Mm-hmm.
So, if your child has supreme anxiety, they are crying thinking about this, there's two different ways that you can opt out of EQAO. You can go to your school's principal and say, I don't want to do this, and here's why. They will submit a letter to the school board. Boom, you're exempt.
Yeah. Almost no questions asked.
Yeah, they're not going to argue with you. They're just going to go, okay.
Okay, whatever.
The other thing you can do is take a sick day.
Mm-hmm.
What days is EQAO happening? Don't send your kid to school.
Yep.
They're not going to have a retest day. They're not going to do it. So if it's causing stress, your child's singular results is not going to impact the province. We're not sitting here saying, okay, everybody opt out of EQAO, because I do think that there is validity in seeing how everyone is doing.
Well, it's also not a test for everybody, right?
Exactly.
And the other thing about these tests, any sort of standardized tests across a wide and diverse place, and Ontario is a wide and diverse jurisdiction,
Absolutely it is.
is the test is going to have biases built right in, right?
Cultural
biases, English language biases.
Yeah, for learning abilities,
Yes.
And so the reports do indicate, if we have English language learners, like on the EQAO website, if we have people who have, learning disabilities and if they've got accommodations, but there needs to be a formal identification, a formal IEP in place to be lumped into this. So say you have a child who has ADHD. And the idea of sitting quietly in a classroom for 3 days is very stressful for them. And they are bouncing off the walls because they are so stressed out, and things are, just keep them home.
Yeah.
If it's just going to cause more chaos and more stress than it's worth, keep them home.
It has no impact on their grade
It's
whatsoever.
not going to impact you don't even find out how they've done until the grades are already in, and it's the whole next school year.
Yeah.
So, if your kid can do it, do it. I do think that there's value in getting the data, but I think that if it's a test that is going to, you're setting your kid up for failure and not feel good about themselves and cause anxiety in them, go to the movies that day instead.
Here's how we'll finish off. Because we've been talking about assigning grades,
Yes.
right? The province was in the business of assigning every single school board, every single school, every single student a grade. Let's give the province of Ontario's education ministry a grade on EQAO.
F.
F.
An R. You know what? Yeah, I was an R.
Harsh.
I think you know what I mean. I'll be generous and say like a D plus.
Okay.
You know what? Our reading and our literacy scores are decent.
Yeah.
There's always room for improvement, especially in that sort of early literacy stage, but they are making changes in that front too. We've re-implemented phonics and, all of that in kindergarten, and screening, the Acadians testing, all of this is now coming into play. So I do think that they have implemented some changes
This
there.
is what I was going to say. This is the
So,
redeeming quality. So
yes.
I am going to give them a C minus,
All right.
right? Maybe I am a more lenient marker than you.
I'm a hard marker, yeah.
But I do think that, man, these math scores are unsettling.
They are. So maybe I'll say an R in math,
Yep.
an F in math.
Yep.
We'll give them like a B minus or a C plus in language.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
We'll reconvene next year to
Yes.
see what the grades will be like for our friends in the ministry then.
Yes, I like it. And I think we will say if you like what you hear, like us, share, follow, subscribe, all of those things. Leave us a review. And I think we will put a link to the EQAO website and the results so that people can check them out for
You can
themselves
check
and their
out the
specific school boards
Yes.
across
Specific
Ontario.
school boards, specific schools.
Yep. So
Yep.
we'll pop that info in there.
Perfect.
Awesome.
Ciao.
Have a lovely one.